Well, happening today, debt ceiling talks resumed this morning in Washington, D.C. to avoid financial catastrophe. Negotiations ended yesterday without a deal once again, and this has a lot of Americans wondering what can happen if the U.S. does default. So here to answer some of those questions for us on the situation is Assistant Professor of San Jose State's Department of Accounting and Finance, Dr. Julian Vogel. Thanks so much, Julian, for being with us this morning. And let's just start with the fact that we have never defaulted on our debt before. So this kind of feels like a gray area as it's uncharted territory. So let's simply start with the financial markets. Stocks closed lower Tuesday with fears of a debt ceiling impasse. So is a recession really possible if a deal is not made?
Morning, and thank you for having me. Absolutely, a recession is possible. Technically, we are in a recession right now. We have been in a recession for quite some time, as a recession formally is defined by 2 consecutive quarters of shrinking GDP. However, it never felt like this. And we are in a very similar situation with the default. The default is looming and has been looming for quite a while, but markets never seem to react to that. And then as news broke yesterday that talks have been stalled or are not really going anywhere, we could see in the markets that there was less and less confidence. The Dow closed lower, and investors started to sell off to mitigate their positions.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. And we are inching closer to that X date, so when our government won't be able to pay their bills. And these bills include Social Security and Medicare. So what should people who use government funds be prepared for?
Right. So as you said, Social Security and Medicare are a big part, but it's really affecting everybody who's getting a check from the government. This includes, military families. This includes postal workers, National Park Service, really absolutely everybody who is having a check from the government. And so what people can do is to prepare by having more cash on hand, by essentially trying to find ways in which they can cut back a little more, at least temporarily. I'm fully aware that this is easier said than done, because some of these programs, such as, for example, Medicare, are designed for people that do not have the largest financial slack to begin with, who are potentially struggling to make ends meet as is. So this is a very perilous situation. But at the same time, the best way to prepare for everybody is to keep that extra cash on hand, to make sure that friends or family are able to help you out if possible.
Yeah, very volatile situation for a lot of people. So in the event of a default, what would happen with the housing market? And then what would the recovery time look like on that as well?
Right. So the direct consequence of the default, as we said, is the lapse of payment. But then the interest rates would rise, both by the Fed potentially stepping up again, but also because of the United States now being a less the optimal lender, meaning that people are aware of the higher risk of borrowing from the US government and requiring higher interest rates. This means for real estate prices and real estate markets that interest rates continue to rise, meaning mortgage rates continue to rise. And this obviously hurts everybody with a adjusted rate mortgage, or everybody looking to find a house. And as the whole home market and mortgage market is already somewhat stifled by low inventory and already high interest rates, this only exacerbates the whole situation. How long it can take to recover, that's really anybody's guess. It's really about when consumers and home buyers will regain trust in the market, which could potentially take a very long time, years.
Yeah, that could really take some time. Absolutely. A lot of impacts from this, and this is just touching the surface of the mess that this can bring. So hopefully a decision is made soon. Assistant Professor of San Jose State's Department of Finance, Dr. Julian Vogel, thank you.